But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Click OK, Surf Daddy, Neil, Len, Wandek, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How's everybody doing today?
Fantastic. Hello, everybody.
I'm very pleased to hear it.
Good afternoon.
What we were discussing in the pre-show was Phil Bell. So, Phil Bell is dying of cancer. Now, while that's tragic, everybody dies. When you get to a certain age, 70 plus, like Phil, you die. So when I said yesterday, you'll die soon, I was absolutely correct. The problem is that someone like Phil decides that they want to approach people who don't value their opinion, don't want their company, and in fact, to the most part, despise them, and offer their musings on those people's lives, how worthy they are of correctness according to the wonderful educator, Phil Bell, in this instance. Now, my response, as somebody who's been told for 10 to 12 years that I need to jump off tall buildings to prove gravity, have my balls removed so I can't reproduce, drink bleach, have my kids taken away, or should be reported to the police for crimes I've not committed, I have absolutely no sympathy for Phil's demise. Out of mercy, I might pray that it's quick. But I was absolutely correct when I said that I would hesitate to guess that Phil is having some reflective time about the worthiness of his existence on this plane, and assessments of whether or not you're driving a decent car versus whether or not you've actually enjoyed the time that you had, which is all you had of real value, not the coins that come in that are woefully lacking for the most part. For me, I'm very poor. Doesn't mean that I haven't experienced wealth. There are times in my life that I'm rich and times like now when I'm poor. Hopefully it'll turn around when I bring a book out. Maybe it'll be my riches that come as a result. Maybe it won't. But that isn't ultimately what life's about. Life's about whether or not right now, in this moment, you appreciate the absolutely beautiful gift that you've been given by your creator and how thankful you are for this moment right now. Now, me, talking into my Electro Voice RE27ND, I'm very delighted. It's a great mic. Done so that I mitigate for the sounds that my kids might produce as they run around having had the clocks changed by an hour, making them all out of whack in terms of how their body clock works, meaning that they might come in and influence the show. Now, in years gone by, I was deeply concerned about how much noise my kids make as they run around, scream and cry as kids do, because of the potential detriment to my character that could be spun by my opponents. In more recent times, I appreciate as an individual that I, as an individual, when being ad hominem attacked, have no bearing on the measurements of Earth being flat. They're fundamentally foundational to the belief that was formerly described as an opponent's viewpoint when looking at us and saying we are wrong about how flat Earth is measured, because it's measured that way to produce the ball, making me, as a participant in the overall knowledge that the world can turn around tomorrow and go, I always knew it was flat, because they did. It's not like sea level, eye level, perpendicularity, parallel, surface level, elevation angles, elevation. All of these things are prerequisite flat Earth measurements that are used in practical ways daily. Nobody's being hidden from these facts. They're just called geography, as opposed to science, which is where globe Earth resides, in its fantastical use of mathematical derivations of a geographically flat plane that we measure to produce out-of-the-box thinking like heliocentrism. Now, I don't have any bearing on it in spite of how eloquently I can summarise the very boring claim to be science of heliocentrism. It's dull. Now, there was a perceived value in the people that have opposed us, like we as people need opposing when it comes to flat Earth measurements. Those people found value in this very boring information and felt that they were being challenged by individuals who needed bracing against, needed the police calling. These low-value males who instigated and enticed other actual men to do their dirty work, contacted the Big Daddy government of social services and told them my kids should be removed because I can hear noises in the background. Meaning that I have to mitigate for the scum that are around me with a very beautiful microphone. But it doesn't alter how little influence I have over the flat Earth measurements I can eloquently disseminate to an audience, or how much joy I take from passing that information on through the lens of a camera and through the bowels of a very beautiful microphone. But other people who are questioning their very existence will lie on their deathbed and question whether or not the orbital motion they suggest has been inferred after measurements of a flat Earth to infer them was a worthy endeavour. And they might find their lacking opinion of their own existence leads them to questioning YouTubers and their friends about how worthy an educator they are. That's Phil Bell. Now, when that person seeks their own affirmation by talking down to the next man by metaphor, suggesting that they might be a bit out of tune with their rhetoric, bear in mind that that person you're telling is out of tune might utterly despise you and say that they will not mourn your passing. Quite the contrary, they're questioning why you're interjecting your opinion in someone else's life when it wasn't asked for. We have a saying here in Britain, keep your nose out where it isn't asked for.
Well, it seems like somebody making believe they're Phil Bell is in the chat, saying after 2,517 shows, just saying measured flat doesn't mean it's flat.
Is that so? I mean, I couldn't give a shit what you say. Literally, it makes no difference whether or not you tell me that just because it's measured flat doesn't mean it's flat. No, that's exactly what it means. But I don't care if you understand that. You know, feel free to deny it. Good for you. Will it change that I've got 10 years of paying my mortgage out of this endeavour so far? No, I'm really, really grateful. Thank you, Jesus. No, I've been paying my mortgage doing this. What do you think it's been shown that I'm wrong? Now, I've done more than 2,500 shows on the subject. And here we are going, the only thing I've realised is that I don't have any bearing on how flat Earth will be measured in all circumstances. What's that? There's a chat skank. Thank you for being here. That's all I got to say. You kept my mortgage paid. You metaphorically being the stereotype of an audience member. I mean, it's terrible at the moment. The censorship's off the scale because we're talking about how flat Earth gets measured, because it is. Now, that's the same for you if you want to derive our values from elevation angles to create a sphere with them, to believe that you're standing on a violation of the very flat measurements that created your sphere that you believe in when you tell me I'm wrong when I say it's flat. Now, it's flat for the measurements of everybody's belief, in your case, ball, or for me that doesn't extend any belief after measuring Earth flat. Not that I do. I'm inconsequential in this endeavour. It's just been measured that way to give you directionality, altitudes, elevation angles, ground positions, circles of equal elevation, Cartesian grids to put maps on, to project onto balls, to reproject onto flat maps so you can pretend there's some ball coexistence in the flat plane that we measure, to affirm your belief, in other words. Now, me, I've not done any of those things. This diagram on screen, for example, I didn't come up with this, but it is the flat plane that bifurcates a sphere Earth you believe in, that I can eloquently describe how flat it must be for the existence of this ball that we are not standing in. It's a glorified protractor. But you can believe in that ball derived from flat Earth measurements, but only if you accept the flat Earth measurements, because they're absolutely required. I just don't insist. You don't have to accept the flat Earth measurements. You don't have to sink to your knees in acknowledgement of our flat Earth must be measured for your ball to exist. You can deny them. I mean, it means you haven't got any measurements to create this diagram with if you deny the flat Earth measurements, but I don't care if you deny it. I don't care if you tell me I'm wrong. Me being wrong or right won't change how flat Earth gets measured. I am inconsequential. It's something else we were discussing in the pre-show. Like, if you were dying of cancer, why would you spend your last time on this mortal plane telling a YouTuber they're wrong about measurements? Well, that seems stupid. Like a waste of time. Furthermore, if you were about to toddle off this mortal coil, why would you spend your time in the company of people who absolutely despise you and would sooner beat the piss out of you than mourn your passing? They'd sooner push you off the edge, metaphorically speaking, than lay flowers on your grave where it says, "Here lies Phil Bell. He drove a Mercedes Benz." No, those people hate you. They're not going to worry about you. They might hold a mirror up to the people who've told them that they should jump off tall buildings, have their balls removed, have their kids taken away and be reported to the police for crimes they haven't committed. They might hold that mirror up to you and point out what a disgraceful monstrosity of a stereotype you've become on the globe Earth believing side when you need flat Earth planar measurements like depicted on glorified protractors that you're not standing in to measure latitude as depicted in this diagrammatical example of a ball Earth derivation of a flat plane that we all measure. We all measure it if we're measuring Earth in any practical capacity. I haven't. I've got no need to. I'm a YouTuber. I've paid my mortgage for 10 years plus with YouTube. Not measuring Earth. I mean, it is measured flat and I can eloquently disseminate that to my audience as a YouTuber. But why you'd come to me and appeal to me for some change in this diagram that I haven't created is beyond me. It seems like there's a lot of idiots out there that are going to waste their time, but they'll end up old snivelling men communicating with people who absolutely hate them about how worthy their existence has been, whilst actually projecting out how inferior they actually feel onto those people who hate them by telling them that they're, I don't know, out of tune by metaphor. I mean, that's sad. I won't. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I'll be like, it was definitely a jape. It was awesome. I am so grateful for having existed, full stop. And it's how I teach my kids. I say the exact same sentiment to them. If this car comes off the road today and we both died, I want to know that you enjoyed every single day of your existence to the absolute extent that it could be enjoyed. One of the main reasons they're not homeschooled, so I can enjoy them enjoying that existence as well. That's part of life, right? But the people who formerly, past tense, perceived themselves to oppose us didn't recognise that people, social structures and hierarchies, or even the conventions we create, have no bearing on Earth's flat surface and how that flat surface is utilised and measured. We don't have any influence on it. It's not a people subject. Therefore, do your worst to Nathan Oakley the man. The measurements will still be flat. So I kind of don't care. Like, who cares? Should have probably gone with the shotgun mic. Who cares if they hear him screaming in the background? What difference does it make? It's still measured flat, regardless of how effectively they can ad hom me with sound effects. Anyway, there's my little rant.
Well, the
15
funny
minutes.
thing is, it wasn't Phil Bell. It's just a baller. Just, this is what they got to do. They have nothing better to do but to make believe there's someone else. So I sniffed him right out. Give me the last four words of the last message you sent me. Couldn't produce it. Goodbye.
Oh, I see. So you've got I've got an acid test for whether or not you're the person that you claim to be. And it's by getting them to repeat their last message.
Yeah, the last four words of the message you sent me last. It was only 2 messages he ever sent me. He said, it's my other account. I don't want to get my main account banned. Yeah, you're not Phil. Goodbye. Guy's got cancer. Why don't you have mercy on the guy and stop impersonating your fellow baller? Poor guy's dying of cancer and you're over here making believe you're him?
Have you know that Phil Bell's got a Mercedes Benz? He is definitely not poor. He's going to take it all with him too. I couldn't remember
the thing is, if that's the case, why are you not surrounding yourself around your family, leaving this topic behind? Oh, because you know that what you were teaching people for years is not in tune.
Well, soon enough, he's going to be 6 feet under a horizontal plane.
Yeah, you can't describe depth unless you're describing the digging of the grave with respect to a planar surface. When you dig down, you're perpendicular to a plane of reference. That's to say that depth is still described from a flat plane when you measure it that way. So when you're digging a grave, yes, that's correct. It is a flat earth proof.
I don't know if I would go with that one first, but yeah.
That's true. I'm very forgiving of myself these days. You know, like, I don't care. So if someone comes along and goes, I can't believe you used digging a grave as a flat earth prerequisite. It is a flat earth prerequisite. Yeah, but it's really morbid.
Down.
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh, you're not digging up. You're not digging sideways. You're digging down.
Sure. But what I'm saying is when somebody says that to me, what they are effectively doing is a glorified ad hominem, subtle though it might be. They're saying, you using that example, that's a disgrace. What, me, an individual? Yeah, but graves are dug with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. Depth is perpendicular to a plane. That's what depth is. It wouldn't matter if you were digging the biggest trench in the world or burying Phil Bell. You're still going to be horizontal. You're still going to be perpendicular. Depth is still a downward vector if you're digging. Isn't it? It's just a fact.
No way out of this, is there, for anybody, dead or alive?
Yeah, but I mean, there's lessons to be learned here, right? And I'm saying this, you're laughing, but I'm being absolutely dead serious, right? You should live your life from moment to moment and appreciate it for what it is. Short-lived and precious. That's it. Don't be that guy that gets to your deathbed and wants to validate what you've done with your life by telling someone else that where they oppose your viewpoint, they are wrong. Just be right. Like, be right in what you do right now. And if you can assess this moment and go, do I value what I'm doing now? And now, that doesn't mean you won't moan about it, right? It doesn't mean that everything's always going to be, as Neil puts it, roses, right? And I try and contrast it every time I do it because it's really easy to contrast with being poor. I am poor. Please hit the super chat. But that is something so easy to contrast the joy that I can extract from a coffee machine and slurp down my gullet, as I gave in the examples in the pre-show. You know, it doesn't matter how much sideways action you get in a Lamborghini on track. If that moment you're questioning the rattle on the dashboard because you've spent £500,000 on the Lamborghini. You know, if you're stressed about the service maintenance, then you're not enjoying that moment when you're going sideways round a hairpin with all four wheels spraying spray from the asphalt onto the windows as you look through the side window. You know, those moments aren't enjoyed as I enjoyed them in a rental Lamborghini. If you're thinking, no, this is costing too much in the lease, I can't make the payments, maybe the repo, you know, that it's not enjoyable then, right? So live your life in a way that every moment extracts the most value so that if you were metaphorically or literally hit by a bus, you would look up to your creator and thank him. Not go, if only I'd have done X. Don't live that way.
The reason why we're talking about Phil Bell is because I got a message on my phone from somebody. Don't know who it is, but this is what the message is. I know you, they even stutter in their messages. I know you won't care despite being a Christian, but Professor Bell is dying of cancer. He is going through a pretty hellish experience. You and Oakley are pathetic pieces of garbage. That's the message I got on my phone yesterday because we straightened him out by claiming that we were out of tune and he's here to set us straight. You don't set us straight. We're setting you straight like Nathan said before, we are telling you now what's what.
Yeah, if you tune in. I mean, nobody's forcing Phil Bell to watch my show. I'm a broadcaster. You can choose to watch my show if you want to. Doesn't mean I want your opinion. No thanks, I'm good. I mean, if you're pleasant, if you're a nice person, there's an open door. Now, obviously, people see that open door policy as sometimes the opportunity to come in and berate me and chastise me. Yeah, they don't like the result when they want to do that. But ultimately speaking, I'm more than willing to be pleasant with pleasant people. The problem is that the people who surround us aren't pleasant, right? George Netchuk. Yeah, if you're watching this, Phil, no one gives a toss about him. He's dead. He died. No one cared. When he was alive, he tried to take another man's job off him. That's what he did. That's what he'll be remembered for. What will you be remembered for? Driving a Merc. Very valuable.
Or maybe obtaining an elevation angle with a bubble sextant off the side of a hill. You never know.
Or using flat Earth coordinates on a grid system that alludes that you're deriving orbital motion from it. I don't know. Whatever you do, don't question it after the fact. Have no regrets. Now, that's not to say do whatever you like and be a heinous individual. It means live your life in a way that you can honestly put your hand on heart and go, I enjoyed every second of it. And I am so grateful for being given the opportunity to have been here and experience it. Thank you, Lord. If you can do that, then you're in a good place. If you think, no, I need those people who absolutely hate me to understand how righteous my endeavours have been. We hate you, Phil. I hate you. Yeah? And I do wish for your death to be quick, just out of the kindness of my heart. It doesn't change that you represent a person that interjects their lives on others so that you can justify your own existence. That's your approach. You want to educate somebody who doesn't want to talk to you, has no desire to be in your company, won't mourn your death, but you're deciding that you're important and you need to educate them and tell them how they're wasting their lives. Just hurry up and die.
Well, what I was saying to Nathan, because it was just me and him, I was saying when Nathan was a young man in his 30s.
I am a young man. What are you talking about? A young man in my 40s, cheeky bastard.
No, I'm talking about when you first started in the arena in this flat earth debate, right? They were telling you to jump off a building, right? Drink bleach, don't procreate. And Nathan's a young man, but that's okay. So now when Nathan is telling an old man to do what old people do, which is die, now it's a sin.
It's back to the same thing I said about not caring. If you make Nathan Oakley a bad person for saying some scumbag that interjected himself into my life without me asking is passing, all right, I couldn't give a crap. All right, that makes me a bad man. Yeah, but why are you talking to me? Why are we having this conversation? Why are you making me out to be a bad guy? Oh, is it because I talk about how flat Earth gets measured by any chance? Yeah? In other words, you wouldn't be here but for the fact that Earth's measured flat. Yeah? Oh, and now you're here, let's make it about people. And if it's about people, you're a bad one. Me? No, I'm not. I'm a good man. I absolutely assure you of that. I'm very poor, like I keep saying, and I'll appeal to people to smash the super chat and support what I do, the endeavours of describing quite concisely how flat Earth gets measured. Even if you're going to derive and extrapolate bull faith from the coordinates that you use when you're pretending that there's orbits that violate the base principles of the measurements that gave you the coordinates. I mean, that kind of nonsense that you might be on your deathbed questioning, if you're Phil Bell. But if you go to your enemies who you've told are out of tune and decided that you're going to superimpose your life onto theirs and ultimately tell them how wrong they are, you're going to find that they don't mourn your passing. They praise it. They go, good. Yeah, he wasn't a very pleasant person. We didn't ask for his company, but here he is. Now, do I wake up and hope that I'm going to be talking about some man I don't like? No. No, I'd rather talk about people I do like. I'd rather surround myself with people that I love. Now, being a broadcaster, I open myself to the general public who can take it upon themselves to impose themselves on my life. You have a choice. Click on the next video if you don't like how flat Earth gets measured being explained by a man. It won't change the first part of that statement. Earth will still be measured flat. But you just won't have to listen to this man tell you that fact. But if you want to stay here and have me not tell you that Earth's measured flat, you can distract from that fact by saying I'm a bad man. That's sound logic for a moron. The kind of logic that'll lead you to question your own existence when you're on your deathbed. I won't be doing that. Yeah, I don't feel guilty for saying I think Phil's a scumbag and is ultimately incorrect, but I don't care or wish him harm for being wrong, but he is imposing his wrongness on me whether we want it or not. So I don't feel bad about saying, yeah, good riddance to bad rubbish when Phil passes. If it wasn't for him interjecting in my life where it wasn't asked for, I haven't looked this man up or have any care to. Yeah, I'm not going to his channel if he's a broadcaster. He's coming to me. Yeah? But the fact that he's come to me leads him to believe that I should now mourn him. And I couldn't give a fuck about him. And that's true for most people, if they're honest with themselves. Most people are completely self-centered. Like, you're wired that way. Like, don't go in the road, a bus might hit you. That's you worried about number one primarily. Don't die. Make sure you've got food and shelter. Those things are self-centered, self-serving, base instincts that we express. Now, cognitively, we also express that in terms of how we go about our general day-to-day lives, which is to say we are mostly concerned with ourselves. I'm mostly concerned about me and, by extension, couldn't give a fuck about Phil Bell. You're going to die? Hurry up about it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I'm kind of sick of hearing about this Phil Bell dying. Why don't you just die already? Then we won't have to talk about it anymore. It's kind of depressing. You know, we've got other things to talk about. I've got the joy of my 2 children. I've got 2 acoustic panels coming. Hey, things are looking up. I'm on a wonderful microphone. Why am I hearing about this Phil Bell? Would I ever have involved myself with this 70-year-old wanker? Definitely not. He's imposed himself on my life. Now, like I say, I can understand why. I'm a broadcaster. I'm opening my doors to all. Now, most normal, rational people will walk away from things that they don't like or recognise the things that they can change and not try and change the things that they can't by making it into a social description of how one man they have found their way to proactively, that's me, behaves or talks. You know, describing how out of tune I am. If I'm out of tune, bugger off. Don't listen to me singing. Oh, what, you need to teach me? Nobody's asked you for your tutelage. How dare you, do you think you are? No wonder we won't mourn your passing.
Well, you could take the high road because the Bible does state clearly that God takes no pleasure in the death of a sinner. Now, I don't know. We're all sinners according to the word of God. I don't know how Phil lives his life. But if God takes no pleasure in the death of a sinner, then we shouldn't rejoice. So I would pull back a little bit.
Okay, you're saying I shouldn't rejoice. Now, the problem is, right, when people say I should jump off a building, it's because they have proactively come to me and are now proactively telling me that I should jump off a building. I haven't approached them and done anything. This is reactive. So when I say I praise, no, it's not that I'll praise his death. It's not like I long for other people's death. That's not what I mean. I long for him to piss off, but I want that anyway. If he wasn't dying, I'd still be saying, piss off, with a metaphorical description of me slapping you around the face so that you piss off if you don't get the picture. If we were theoretically in person, which we're not. Right, it's a hypothetical scenario where if we were in person, you didn't take the hint the first time, I told you to get lost. You get slapped around the face and then told again, like to make it absolutely clear that I don't want you around me. Now, the fact that this person will, by God's volition, be buggering off anyway, that just means that what I've hoped for, that's where the hope comes in, the praise for if that hope is fulfilled, that these people who are proactively contacting me to tell me I'm out of tune, oh, that doesn't sound very nice. I sing for the joy of singing. You want to come and tell me how bad it is? Just don't listen. Oh, you can't help yourself. You feel compelled to be my educator. I do hope you die soon. You are a prick. Now, you don't like that. Don't come to people that you don't like and ultimately, because of that, don't like you to get sympathy when you're on your deathbed, because you'll get told, good, yeah, just hurry up and die. And I will echo that sentiment. And for every person that goes, how disgraceful, yeah, it's a mirror. I explained this earlier. This mirror has got jump off a building and tall building to prove gravity. Have your balls removed so you don't reproduce. Drink bleach. Is it a pleasant mirror? No, the difference is that Phil was going to die anyway. He's old. Said all this yesterday. Just facts. It's whether or not you value your existence now, not by reflection. Yeah, if your every waking moment is dedicated to doing that which is the most joyous, it doesn't mean that you're going to be lacking hardship. It doesn't mean that you won't face poverty. I can totally attest to that. So I can contrast it. It doesn't mean that you can be a intentional sinner or a deviant or a murderer or a thief. Those things are evil. But it ultimately means that the people who you express your disdain at your own life and project your ineptitude onto, there's a good chance they won't like you and therefore won't mourn your passing. Don't hang around those people. But we're back to the start where I just don't want these people who come to me and tell me to jump off buildings, tell me I'm singing out of tune. That's a polite 70-year-old just below the surface of his hatred for us. You mean you don't like the singing? Don't listen to it then. Now, listening to it won't alter, as I said earlier, how flat Earth gets measured. That's the singing that I'm being told's out of tune. Really? I didn't create this diagram. This isn't my melody. It's just a woman standing on a flat plane looking at elevation angles to a star with right ascension and declination being described. That's what Earth is when we measure it. It's flat. I didn't create this. But maybe on your deathbed, you'll think that appealing to a YouTuber's vocalization of the flat Earth measurements will alter what's on screen. Now, that's the delusional rantings of somebody that's questioning their own existence and validity with people who hate them. No, that seems like a stupid waste of your time here, doesn't it? Now, I'm going to point that out. Brutal, isn't it? Brutal that on your deathbed, you might have people that go, I don't care that you die. In fact, you should be grateful to me that I say I hope it's quick. Yeah, be grateful for small mercies from people who despise you.
Well, he came in, first of all, because he left me messages at a minute before midnight on March 4th, and then at 4:03 a.m. March 5th. Like, I don't know him. I've spoken to him in chat years ago, and mostly it was timing him out because it was the same rhetoric that he just wanted to make sure that he was chanting, and the chanting was being logged in your chat. So I would have to time him out. But then years later, you get in touch with me, and then when I present the time and say what kind of person, even family members wouldn't try to reach me at that time. He sent one deck a message telling one deck that the times are wrong, that he contacted me at reasonable hours. So he's interjecting himself to me, not vice versa. I'm just reacting.
Yeah, it's the person that goes up and starts poking somebody in the eye, and then when they get their arm broken, they go, arrest him, he broke my arm. Like, you went up and poked him in the eye. What do you want?
Exactly, Nathan.
That's not to say that everyone who approaches this hypothetical scenario ends up with a broken arm, because most people don't go out and poke people in the eye, like by metaphor saying they're singing out of tune when they're in the shower. Excuse me, why are you in my bathroom? Get out! I put up shouts again today. My wife was like, can we not do it on the pre-show? In other words, saying, can you not record me when we're having a blazing row about putting shelves up? I'm like, fine. It's the biggest of all the jobs. I've got to move the projector, which is a massive job. It's just
how
shelf,
you doing with the book anyway? Just so people get a
really good.
On
chapter 10. So you were there. You're doing that. You're being a good sidekick / co-host, whatever you want to call it, aren't you? Yes, the book's going really well.
People are still asking, how's it going?
Neil was there. He's in on the gig in that regard. He's listening to the progress, and he keeps telling me he's very pleased with how it's going. And Neil was especially pleased with yesterday's chapter, that we're doing minor light edits, but we're ultimately just getting the order of the chapters in the correct order that makes sense. So we've only made one real change, other than deciding what the first chapter would be, which I've got a consensus view on. And then from there on, it's been pretty much in the order that we kind of decided on, apart from one change where it's talking about Earth curve, and then it kind of moves into talking about a former person who claimed I was a scammer denying science, and then it moves into the R value, and I'm like, that doesn't flow the way I want it to. Now, it's been done that way so that each of the main substantive chapters about technical information are punctuated with anecdotal chapters about individuals. So it's information based and then lowbrow people based in essence. But because of that sort of ordering, it's ended up that the two informational chapters didn't fit well together. It didn't need that anecdote that talked about science denial in between R value and Earth curve. So that's been moved up, and the R value chapter's been moved back, so it now flows nicely from Earth curve into radial value housekeeping questions in terms of how they're structured, and then it moves into science denial. And in that chapter we've added refer back to chapter 5 or whatever it was previous to that, so it makes sense chronologically, just reference back with a change of order. But it's causing more delays than I was hoping. I was hoping that this would just be a straight read through all the way through, and there's also light edits that are being made where no, that's an and instead of an or, and it might be the case that when it gets published in the next week or two that there's minor alterations that need to be made for a second revision. But my publicist has made it clear, look, once it's done to a reasonable standard, we will put it out, and then if you do happen to read through it and go, no, this is a grammatical error that needs altering, just alter it. It's no big deal, right? It's an electronic copy. So don't worry about it. Just make the alterations as and when you need to, but make sure it's, to a high enough standard. So if this, the 8th draft, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be grammatically perfect, and there are still instances where I do want it to be grammatically perfect. But at some point I will just have to say, that's good enough, and good enough is good enough. There might be an and where there's supposed to be an or here and there. As I read through some of the chapters while my kid was in her art class today, I was reading through what we'd worked on, and I could still see it. I'm like, no, that's supposed to be an and it's not. It's an or. And let's just move on, though. I don't want to go back immediately through the chapters we've just done. So we're on chapter 10, and the chapter we did yesterday in Neil's company was chapter 9, which started off talking about him specifically, and it was an anecdotal chapter that we covered after doing a bit of the tail end of the Coriolis chapter. So you're getting an idea of the chapter structure, because I've got it familiar in my mind, having just done it last night. But yeah, the anecdote that Neil was involved in was talking about the sale of flat earth keyrings and social groups that ended up with one of the participants in a social group masturbating to one of the female participants on a Skype call. So that particular anecdote is both salacious and amusing to a certain extent, and lays out how the social structures take over as something that can be criticised easily from a so-called opponent's view, and distracts from the fact that Earth's just measured flat. So boiling it all down into quite a concise summary of how the social structures of what is called flat Earth negates the measurements was something that Neil was delighted with in terms of the consistency of that particular chapter yesterday. Would I be summarising your delight with yesterday's chapter accurately, Neil?
Absolutely. Flowed beautifully. Perfect.
I just thought it was a salacious chapter about former social groups that I was in. And
Yeah, but when you got into how conspiracies lead to flat Earth, and you break it down, it's just really good how you worded it and how it just flowed in perfect order. I like that chapter a lot.
well, that's how it starts out. So the chapter starts out by pointing out that all conspiratorial roads lead you, the individual in that rabbit hole, to flat Earth as an end consequence of looking into conspiracies. And that's how the chapter is opened and accredited to I don't know, some Italian dude, some fictional character, Nigel Soprano.
Yeah, that's a new one. I've never ever met an Italian named Nigel, but that's cool.
Well,
Cornelius, yes.
okay. Well, it's not changing. That character's called Nigel.
Well, that's what makes it funny. It's sort of like similar to Darth. Ethan Woodley.
Yeah, that's the kind of vein that I've gone along. I'm sure I have stolen a couple of his names that he came up with as well. I think I've used quantum entanglement, and I'm sure I used one other. Maybe it was Nth Man. Can't remember. I've used a couple of Darth's fake names, though. And ultimately, it was him that I got the idea from, right?
Yeah, he should come out with another video. He dropped the ball, that guy, but whatever.
Well, at the time, Flat Earth was it was at the tail end of being promoted. Like, we were early in the debate and had a rough structure of how to describe a flat Earth and debunk a ball more often than not. Therefore, that was promoted from within the algorithm. Therefore, it was topical and of the moment to talk about flat Earth in that context, because we sat within the stereotypes that a society can ridicule. That is to say, we were basically the conspiratard saying Earth's not a ball. Therefore, promoted to a certain extent so we could be held as the opposition. At the moment, the censorship for this channel is absolutely off the chain. It's like more severe than ever. Now, again, if I was money orientated, it would mean that I'd do something else. But that's not really my motivation. My motivation is to sit and do this as a broadcaster. Now, there's proactive things that I'll have to do to hopefully make the channel worthy of paying my mortgage. But ultimately, it's waned. The financial incentive from YouTube has gone down, which means that, I'll have to regen the interest from publishing a book and going out and touring it and talking about it and being in front of others to promote that book. So, it's something that I look forward to going out. I mean, I'm still apprehensive about it, as anybody would be, right? When you've got something that you want to be a success that's brand new, it's like releasing a new car. You hope people will like it and buy it, but you don't know. Just got to go out on the tour and publicise it and promote it and advertise it.
Right. It all depends on, how you promote it, where you're going, how many shows you're going to be on. It's all sales. It's sales after that, Nathan.
Yeah, something I've done. So I'm apprehensive, but I'm also prepared and educated in a way with experience that can assist me in promoting my material. So I'm pleased where I'm positioned in regards to doing it. If it fails, so be it. It won't mean that I'll be any more or worse off in terms of the poverty. I'm about at my lowest peak. I said this to my wife when I got married. So when I met my wife, she was driving a couple or 3-year-old Audi TT. Coincidentally, the same one we've got now, but back then it was lovely, right? It was a nice new sports car, and I was driving an S5, so I was driving a really posh, expensive car. So was she. We were both well-to-do, beautiful, youthful, looking for love people, right? But I was at my peak, right? I was earning really good money, and right at the top of that peak, and I had to say to her, like, if we stay together forever, you have to understand that this is meaningless. The fact that I've currently got loads of money and a nice fast car and can go away and, the world's my oyster, doesn't mean that financially it'll stay there. Like, often I'm down here somewhere in the depths of poverty. That's where I am now, right down here. You're like, oh, well, the only way's up, right? But it means that you don't fear it. Like, before that, I'd experienced, if I move the timeline back, that peak several times previously, which is why I could have that conversation with my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife. Because you don't want someone to... What I was gauging was she go, what you mean you might not be as rich as this? Like, no, I'll probably be poor at some point again. I have been poor previously and rich previously and poor previously. It comes in waves, that's just life. But don't be deceived by the sharp suit and the Rolex and the posh car, because that might not be me in 6 months from now. It might all go away. You just don't know. Right? I'm still in the same apartment. She's still in the same car, right? 20 years later. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, probably 25 years later, you know, she's understood that, and I gauged her response at the time. Now, we're talking about this because we're talking about Phil dying. And it's like, if you only assess your life on how much of the rat race you've achieved, and you're always looking for the promotion and the, you know, you never experience the moment for what it is. At that time, I was discovering the love of my life, and it was absolutely joyous. I can feel the butterflies just describing it. But I had to give her a reality sandwich, which is to say, being rich. Like I say, at that time, I was renting the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and negotiating with my boss to have one. That's where I was. I had this conversation with allegedly Dave, because he was in a very similar position. He owned the Ferrari, though. I didn't quite get one that was mine. And he gave me some of the examples that I could only describe after the fact, that I could describe with my Audi, but he described with his Ferrari. From the inside, it's just a car, and it's just another noose around your neck, another expense that you've got to stress about. Something that you've got to concern about coming back and having gob on the seats if you left the window open, or a scratch down the side if somebody doesn't like it. And therefore, the stress and anxiety that it caused, you know, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Even though you feel like you're as affluent as you can be, this is allegedly Dave in his Ferrari, right? It's meaningless. Well, for me and my wife, I'm saying, you know, eventually I might be down here, poor. You know, and I've been poor. You know, but whether or not you're actually tightening your belt buckle so you can actually survive at that level of poverty versus crapping your pants and losing your home and not having a roof over your head and getting turfed out, you know, those are the further extremes. Now, I've never gone further down, like below that line, but I've definitely been skirting it, and I've been skirting it for 10 years of YouTubing. And I had that conversation with my wife too. I'm like, if I'm going to become a YouTuber, there's a good chance we're going to skirt that poverty line like that. We have. But do I seem upset about it? No, it's been wonderful. Like every other parent that goes, oh, they grow up so quickly. I go, little sods are really noisy, meaning in a joyous way. I get to experience, I'm not regretting missing them growing up, right? I'm talking about mitigating their noise with a different microphone because they're here, right? But it means I don't regret not seeing that part of their life as they turn into adults. Now, one of them's about to turn 10. Before I know it, she's going to be 15, and before I know it, she'll bugger off. And you'll be like, my God, where did it go? I don't want to be experiencing that pain, ever. I want to be like, yeah, it was great. I loved every minute of it. YouTubing has afforded me that. Yeah, we've been skirting the poverty line. And yeah, it's embarrassing having to e-beg and say, hit the super chat. Hopefully you'll smash the PayPal link. Hopefully I'll get some more Patreons. But so what? You know, I get to experience a life that I'm genuinely trying to convey to my audience to try and experience. That experience that if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, would you just look up just before it hit you and go, this was awesome. So wicked. I'm so blessed. If not, something's wrong. Money isn't the answer either. You can be at that stage, like allegedly Dave with his Ferrari, and be miserable. And I've seen it. I've seen people with Lamborghinis on the driveway. I'm sure I've told the story of the guy with a W12 A8 Audi and a Lamborghini on his driveway. And he was miserable. The customer was miserable. He was a audiophile customer. And I was there dealing with his £30,000 hi-fi or whatever he got. And he was miserable. He's like, people see the Lamborghini on the driveway and they don't realise that it's on a lease and you've gotten bills and you're like, okay, not happy then. How does it drive? I haven't got a licence. What? This is the insanity of people at the top end of their peak. Like, yeah, but when you get to the end, even though you've been at the top end of a perceived peak to next man when you've kept up with the Joneses because you've had a Ferrari on the driveway, will you get to it and go, but was it worth it? And the answer is still just as likely to be no. Or, no, I need to convince people that I did well. I had a Lamborghini on the driveway. And I need to tell that person on my deathbed so they know how worthy my life was. Right? Then it wasn't. You feeling the need to tell people how worthy you are, what a great educator you have been, how worthy your orbital mechanics derived from flat earth measurements have been for the worthiness of your existence. then it wasn't. You wouldn't need to justify it. Just like I don't need to justify how flat Earth gets measured anymore. I don't need to argue with people about it. If it is what it is, if you've had a good life, you won't need to justify it. Like Earth being measured flat, there's no need to justify the existence of the measurements. They are what they are. Right, we've got 10 minutes left. We've got a whole bunch of people in the Discord server. Look at that. It's Ramma Jamma Ding Dong. Is it because it's Easter holidays? Is that why we've got so many people? How you all doing, Discord? Not expecting a fantastic interaction. Lots of looky-loos and silent wannabes.
Hey,
Eli.
guys.
Hey, Eli. Obviously, you excluded.
Just working, and I got a loud background. So
Fair enough. Going to be loud here in about half an hour. Like I say, I've got to start drilling holes in walls, moving projectors up by 2 centimeters. Go ahead, Neil.
Well, what about Alpha Murphy 72? Doesn't he have anything to say?
Why do you want to talk? Why do you want to engage with him? Right, when I moan about Phil Bell proactively contacting us, and
He's
us
in a
having to react-
voice chat.
Yes, true. When I say you'll be warmly welcome back, you're kind of, you know, you're making me a liar. You know what I mean?
Why? That wasn't warm? I've been asking him come out and speak to us.
The last 3
I'm
times you've tried to get his
warmly welcoming
attention,
back.
you've asked him if his wife has permission to let him speak.
Yeah, I got to be respectful because that's how things are done over there.
I'm not respectful, generally speaking. Like Phil, we know these people hate us, don't we?
But if you're going to sit and voice chat, I'm going to beckon you to respond.
Fair enough. What kind of conversation are you hoping to have out of him, Neil?
Well, I know that he's feeding everything to certain people because I know that certain people have put out a video already of you arguing with your wife. Right? That's out there. So it can't be unless somebody's in here recording what's being said because that was on an uncut and after show.
Let me know because I'll copyright strike him. I've not released it yet.
Well, somebody's got a video of it.
You're not supposed to be recording my show if you are recording my show. That's my livelihood.
That's what Neil was talking about when they were responding real time, is that they were rebroadcasting your show in the uncut and after show while it was being recorded.
Correct.
Yeah, don't do that. From the perspective, as much as I will say, yeah, we're riding the arc of poverty, that is literally why I'm here. Like, the only reason to be here is to broadcast. So if you're going to steal my material, it's just theft. Now, don't steal my shit. All right, looks like I'll have to dig out some copyright strikes then. No worries.
Yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few of them too. That's the sad thing.
Actually, I don't care. It's like I said earlier, these people do these things so they can paint me in a bad light. It's like you've made measurements of Earth's surface into individuals and social hierarchies. And at a stretch, you'll turn it into the conventions that you can fudge when it comes to flat Earth measurements. Who cares? It's not. We're moving away from that. We're saying flat Earth has been pigeonholed to be about people. And it isn't. It's about surface level measurements. It is that simple. I don't have any control over those things. Painting me in a bad light's not going to change them.
Right, but if you're arguing with your wife, that's a flat earther. Listen to the way he's speaking to her. You're gonna listen to this, but like we listen to you, you know. But this is how they have to portray it. Look how bad he is. Character assassination. And the best thing is how you handle it, Nathan. You don't give a crap. See, the Bible is legit because you got all the dirt right there for you to read. You know, they're not sugarcoating anything. And it's the same thing with this. I mean, you're not hiding behind anything. You go through the normal things that every family go through. If your kids are out of line, you yell at them. If your wife and you are having an argument, you're having an argument. I mean, I don't understand what these people think they're doing.
I said they're making measurements about individuals. Now, I get it. That's how this so-called debate has been structured. So that it's about the conspiratards versus the fart sniffers. That's it. You're fart sniffers. You are trying to protect your oh so valuable information that you whistle past flat earth measurements for. And to do so, you contrast your fart sniffing value that you've ascribed to your information about heliocentrism to a contrasting conspiratard view about individuals and how they behave. Never going to change how flat earth gets measured. Therefore, as I said, I'm impermeable to this stuff. Makes no difference to how earth is measured.
Right, but Len was telling me, Len Lennox, he's a big contributor to your show. He was telling me that he heard this certain person saying, begging for his wife and children to run while they can. Now, that's a piece of shit right there. And if you're going to promote that all over the airwaves, that you're this horrible person and just praise that your wife and children get out of harm's way, it's a piece of shit. You can't deal with the discussion. You can't deal with the fact that Earth is measured flat. So character assassinate the person that is claiming Earth is measured flat more than anybody. I mean, you coined the term measured flat. So this is where we're at.
Like I say, these are the same people that typify my response to people like Phil Bell on their deathbed. It's like, no, you won't be mourned. But in this moment, are you doing something valuable with your precious time? No, definitely not. You're attacking another individual online because you want to make a subject about measurements about an individual. Now, that makes you scum, but you will be that person on your deathbed appealing to people like me, like you are a worthy educator, like Phil Bell is professing to be. Like, we hate you. You're the kind of person that suggests that a man's wife and kids should be taken away in this instance, right? Yeah? Again, why would I be smiling about it? Because I know I am inconsequential. I am taking a humble back seat to the facts I disseminate to an audience now. You attacking me will not change how flat Earth is required by you. Now, if you stop me pointing out how flat Earth is required by you to create your bull you're defending by saying another man needs his kids and wife taken away, that doesn't stack up logically, does it? Now, I'm only saying that because in a world that you need this to be, philosophy, logic-based, it's no longer maths and measurement-based. One step further is making it socially based. About these crazy flat earthers. It's not. Nothing you do will alter that. Nothing. You can try. Personal attacks I'm used to. Right, we're up on the hour. Anybody else got anything that they want to add from Discord before we round out? And like I say, I've got to put some more shelves on. You can hear me yelling at my wife again in the after show.
Is there going to be an after show?
Maybe it was important that you went through the last 10 years of everything so that you could just stick to the measurements.
Yeah. Otherwise, you worry about defending your own pride. Like, when you realise there's nothing to defend, you stop caring about defending your social influence and status because you don't have any in regards to the subject. My social status doesn't affect how flat Earth gets measured. Now, the more I parrot that, the more people want to shut me down because all I'm doing is echoing the awful truth they don't want to face. The very reason they've made me into a scapegoat for their fear is because, by reflection, if it's a social subject, if it's a philosophical subject, if you can undo the logic, you don't have to look at the measurements. And me, like I keep saying, I'm not measuring anything. I didn't measure it. I didn't produce this diagram on screen. That's just how we measure Earth for an elevation angle, though. Right, seriously though, anything else anybody wants to add? If not, I'm going to round out. Nope. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Hit me up on PayPal and Patreon and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.